Good morning and Merry Christmas to BookTube. It's the 9th of December. I haven't posted a video for a while because I've been a bit busy with kind of Christmassy and birthday type things. So here's just a quick glimpse of what I've been doing over the last few weeks. Okay, so today's video is really kind of a roundup of what I've been reading and what I'm currently reading. But as I'm rounding up, I'm going to talk about whether I would recommend this book as a present for somebody and what kind of person might like the book. Because I don't know about you, but I haven't actually... Sorry, this bit of hair always does this, doesn't it? I haven't actually bought all my Christmas presents yet. In fact, I haven't really started properly. I'm making some of my presents this year. I can't tell you what, in case the people I'm making for watch the video. And I've got to get on with that today, otherwise I'm not going to have any presents to give on Christmas Day. And I haven't decorated the house yet, but then I never do. I never decorate the house until after the 16th of December, because that's when our daughter's birthday is, and so we always try to separate birthday and Christmas. Okay, so my roundup then. So what have I been reading? So if you look at my autumn roundup, you'll find some of the books I planned on reading, and I did read most of them, all except Exit West, which I wasn't sure I was going to read anyway, and I'm not sure I will read that one. So I read The Tryst by Monique Roffey, which was a kind of erotic novella, basically, about a woman that comes in between her husband and his wife in a relationship, and then the sort of consequences or fallout from that. It was a good read. It was an erotic read in places. I think it was very brave of Monique to write about female sexuality. Who would I recommend it to? I'm not sure I would be able to buy the book for anyone at Christmas, because I think they might wonder why I'd chosen that book for them. If anything, I would buy something like The Tryst for a really close girlfriend that I'd known for a long time, who I would think would potentially enjoy it. So The Tryst isn't one you would go out and buy your gran or your auntie. Another book that I read recently, and I've done a review of this book, which I'll put a link to down below. I've done a review of The Tryst actually, so I'll put a link to that as well. The Storyteller by Kate Armstrong. You may not know, but Kate Armstrong is a booktuber. I subscribe to her channel, but I'll put a link to that. And she's written a literary fiction novel called The Storyteller, which is incredible, beautiful, wonderful literary fiction, really about recovering from mental illness and depression. In terms of who I would recommend The Storyteller to, it is literary fiction. It is written in a second person perspective, so I would recommend it to my friends that I know enjoy and read literary fiction, because I think if you're a genre reader or if you like very commercial fiction, I think you might find The Storyteller a bit too overwhelming in terms of the way it's written. So I would suggest, if you're going to recommend The Storyteller, recommend it to people who do enjoy reading more challenging books than the mainstream. So if they're a Jodie Picoult reader, I wouldn't recommend The Storyteller to them. However, I also read Eleanor Oliphant is Not Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Now, while I didn't like Eleanor Oliphant very much, because I think its portrayal of mental illness was badly done, and I didn't like the nature of the reveal, so personally for me The Storyteller wins hands down. For people who do like commercial fiction, for people who maybe like the Silver Linings Playbook, or I'm just trying to think, all the books with girl in the title, Girl in the Red Coat, Girl on the Train, Girl Gone, those kind of readers would probably really enjoy Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. So it wasn't one for me, but it would be a good Christmas present for people who generally like commercial type fiction. Another one that I read recently is The Growing Season by Helen Sedgwick, which is a near future dystopia where the where human procreation is removed solely from women and made available to both men and women through the use of an artificial womb. And the novel really is an exploration of what that would mean for society, what that would mean for male and female rights. And it was an okay book to read. For me, there was nothing particularly startlingly new. I felt it was a little bit preachy. But I enjoyed the read. But who I think would really like The Growing Season are teenagers, young adults, particularly if they were anything like me at that age. I was very much willing to question everything. I was very curious about what would happen if men could give birth, what would happen if women were in charge. So if you've got any nieces and nephews or children in your life, or young adults in your life that are quite philosophical in the way that they think about things, then I think they would really enjoy The Growing Season by Helen Sedgwick. I think if you're someone like me who's read a lot of dystopia, a lot of Margaret Atwood, and has been reading for many years, I think you might be slightly disappointed by it, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for those sort of people. So another book I read recently is Elmet by Fiona Mosley, and this was one of the, I think it was the Booker Prize shortlist, and I saw quite a lot of reviews on this, and it seemed like quite an intriguing story, and it is an intriguing story. I mean, it's a very, very well written novel about a man who really lives on the outside of society, a sort of social outcast. He kind of mixes with the travellers, but he's not a traveller. He mixes with the working class rural poor, but he's not one of them. And he's a very proud man who is a fighter, and he has two children, Kathy and Daniel, and he moves them away from society. So he separates them from Asian society, and they are brought up in the woods. He squats on land with them, and they build a house. But it's, you know, it's a house that lacks any it just has the basics there. It's a house that lacks warmth, and it's a house that lacks that sense of home. And you get that impression from Daniel, who's the narrator, because they go and visit a lady who lives across the field from them. And in her home, Daniel feels cosy and it feels like a home. And therefore it really contrasts starkly with the way Daniel, Kathy and Daddy live. The novel becomes really dark and really violent. And it's very unrelenting in its sort of quite depressive narrative. For me, though it was a well-written novel, and though I thought the voice of Daniel was excellently done, I didn't finish the novel thinking I must do a review about this, I must write about this. It kind of left me a bit meh. Yeah, it was a beautiful study of rural poor and rural rich and what it's like to live on the outside of society, but it didn't move me. So it's not one I would necessarily recommend or buy for anybody as a result of that, because I think they potentially would find it similar to me. The next novel is a non-fiction that I read recently, and that's Hunger by Roxane Gay, and that's because it was recommended by Heidi on My Reading Life. And this is a novel that examines what it is to be obese in America. It examines the reasons for an eating disorder such as this, and in Roxane Gay's case it was through a sexual assault and rape when she was very young. I have done a separate review on Hunger, which I will leave a link to down below. In terms of recommending this as a present for people, I think you really would have to think about adults in your life who potentially work in the caring fields or work with people who have suffered trauma and abuse. I think they would find it very interesting. Or if you've got people working in medical fields, because it gives you a really good understanding of why some people find it really difficult to lose weight. Yes, a very moving memoir, a very brave memoir to write. As I've talked more about that in my review, which you can go and have a look at. I've been listening to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier on Audible, and I've just finished it. I listened to the unabridged version, and I absolutely loved it, absolutely loved the novel. Although I've always struggled in the past to get into classics by reading them, I found that Audible is my way in. So what I would recommend as a present for somebody would be an Audible subscription. Even if you've got someone who is an avid book reader like I am, they will still probably love an Audible subscription, because there are times when you can't read as an avid book reader, as in when you're driving or when you're walking or when you're travelling well, you can if you're travelling on a train, but if you're going somewhere where you need to see where you're going, then you can't read. And so all Audible has meant was I can actually get through more books, which I love. And I'm using Audible purely for the classics, the books that I would probably find hard going if I sat down and read them, but are so much easier to digest listening. Rebecca's a beautiful novel about the ghost of Rebecca, or the first Mrs. De Winter, told through the perspective of the second Mrs. De Winter. And it's a novel very much about place and time, based, as the whole novel is really about Mandalay, this family home that has been in the family for a long, long time, and it's where Rebecca comes to her end. I just thought it was brilliant. I really, when it came to the end, at the ending, I was really cross that it ended. I really wanted it to continue. So yes, I would recommend Rebecca, but more importantly, I would recommend that you maybe buy Audible for somebody who loves to read. I also read or listened to Adam Bede by George Eliot on Audible, and again, absolutely loved the novel. I'm going to read more George Eliot, definitely. I'm currently listening to Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and I've got as far as Pip getting to London, so I'm not very far in. But I have to say, I'm not enjoying Charles Dickens' voice. I'm not enjoying the story. There's something about the voice and the character of Pip that's quite annoying, quite arrogant. There's a casual disregard for violence towards children. I know it's a reflection of the times it's written in, but I'm just finding it a very hard novel to get into. But I am going to listen to it all and go from there. I've then also downloaded Anna Karenina, Tolstoy's epic novel by the looks of things. It's 35 hours of listening time, and I really can't wait to start that as well. So Audible, a brilliant present to get somebody. A book that I am currently reading is As God Might Be by Neil Griffiths. Now Neil Griffiths is also a booktuber, and I'll put a link to his booktube channel down below. And I found his book through Kate Armstrong, who wrote The Storyteller, because she did a review of this novel. I haven't quite finished it yet, but it's an incredible novel about a man in... What is it about? It's an existential novel about the existence of God, what God means, how we understand religion in today's world, what would happen if we all just stopped worrying about religion so much and just thought about the meaning of God and Jesus. It's got a wonderful cast of characters. I'm going to do a full review on it when I'm finished, but I think this is a great novel for potentially older adults who have lived a bit, who have maybe grappled with the questions of faith, who are grappling with capitalism, this very commercial world that we live in. It's a really meditative novel about the nature of our existence and the purpose of our existence and what matters and what doesn't matter. So for deep thinking people that really do think about these questions, and I think this is a brilliant novel to buy them, and I would highly recommend it. That's about it for now. So hopefully I'll post again before Christmas, because I'd like to do a review of As God Might Be, and if I actually put any decorations up, get around to it, I will show them to you in my next video. But hopefully I've given you some good ideas for presents there, and the books I have read, who they're most suitable for based on my opinion. Thanks for watching and listening. Back to my coffee now, and I'll see you soon. Bye.